LIV Golf has constantly been in the media since the tour first came out, and Lucas Herbert wants nothing to do with it anymore. After being asked about it for ages, he says he's completely over it and doesn't want to answer any more questions. Instead, he's been talking about the upcoming Australian Open. That's been delayed for over 2 years. In this video, we're going to look at why Herbert's so triggered about LIV Golf. First up, Lucas Herbert is over talking about LIV Golf.
Yeah, it was a funny one. I didn't really feel like there was much going on out there. I just felt like I was almost cruising in third gear and just couldn't quite get things to happen.
It's no secret that LIV Golf's sudden emergence has completely dominated the world of golf. The golf tour is being funded by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund and is led by Greg Norman. LIV has already managed to sign some of the biggest PGA Tour players like Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Smith Leishman, and others. Ever since the LIV Tour got big in golf, many players have been asked questions about what they think about the organization or if they see themselves joining it anytime soon. Since the golf tour is pretty controversial, everyone wants to know what the top players think of it, specifically the ones that aren't a part of it. But Lucas Herbert is absolutely done with LIV and doesn't want any more questions about it anymore. He said he's sick of talking about it and mentioned that everyone else is too. Even he admitted that he was also interested to know who was going to go with who or what the tour would look like, but that was only in the first month. For him, it's all old news now that he doesn't want to talk about anymore. Although he did answer one of the biggest questions about the tour, which is if there will be any crossovers between the tours. Herbert said in his opinion, "We'll probably never have a crossover or have any golfers playing in both tours." He says all the players that went over to the LIV Tour knew exactly what they'd sign up for. He's referring to the fact that the PGA Tour has banned LIV Tour players and doesn't think they should complain about this. Up next, what's Lucas Herbert looking forward to in the Australian Open?
Great galleries following this group. He's lofted this high in the air along with the wind to push it to the left. It's a little bit right at the flag.
Instead of talking about the LIV Tour all the time, Herbert is more interested in answering questions relating to the Australian Open. The Australian Open is finally going to be held in December after 2 years of delay. The last 2 Opens were cancelled because of the COVID-19 pandemic, even though the organizers tried extremely hard to string something together. Among those competing in the men's and women's Australian Opens are Herbert, British Open champion Cameron Smith, major winner Adam Scott, Minjee Lee, and more. So let's just say it's going to be a star-studded gathering to say the least, one without any scandals preceding the event itself. Herbert is hoping that he'll have the chance to go up against Cameron Smith while competing for the Joe Kirkwood Cup or the Stonehaven Cup. He thinks after winning twice on the PGA Tour's Bermuda Championship and the European Tour, he's finally ready to compete against someone like Smith and all the other qualified golfers of the Australian Open. The pro specifically wants to go up against Smith because he believes that he's the toughest competition for him right now. Seems like Herbert was right about that because a lot of the other players also named him as their biggest competition. Although he seems very confident that he can beat Smith. We're just going to have to wait and see who actually is going to win.
Fairway here on the 6th hole, so you've got the bunkers down the left-hand side and down the right-hand side. Just to turn this one over a bit.
Moving on. Why is LIV Golf controversial?
LIV Golf has given them the opportunity for another pathway to be the independent contractor.
From the outside, it just seems like LIV Golf is a competitor to PGA Sport, nothing more. But it's a lot deeper than just that. Ever wondered how this random golf tour managed to get some of the biggest players like Phil Mickelson? Money. It's as easy as that. They offered him a $200 million deal to sign with them. It seems like a no-brainer to accept a deal like that. But LIV Golf is no normal organization. It's actually kind of ironic because Mickelson once called the Saudis scary to get involved with. He even talked about how he would never even consider their deals, but in the end, he accepted their deal anyway. It's being funded by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, which is being controlled by none other than Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Yep, the same prince who sponsored the assassination of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The Saudi government's also been alleged to have been involved in the 9/11 attacks in New York, but all that's been swept under the rug. People think LIV Golf is sports washing to cover up for Saudi Arabia's terrible human rights record. Obviously, because of all this, the tour hasn't had a good rep, and for all the right reasons. Fans are devastated that some of their favorite golf players are joining LIV Golf just because of the money they're offering, not taking into account that the people working behind it are basically criminals.
I was talking, Dave, you don't hear me.
Now, Leigh Steinberg predicts LIV Golf is here to stay.
For the moment, seems to have laid down a bit.
Straight
Starts right and going right.
Ah, that's the one. Oh, okay.
It's safe to say no one wants anything to do with LIV Golf, and people are hoping they'll be taken out of the golf scene in some way. But according to sports super agent Leigh Steinberg, LIV Golf is here to stay as long as the players will continue to chase after the money. Steinberg is no stranger to some expensive deals, having helped in the negotiation of NFL star Patrick Mahomes' record-breaking $503 million pay in 2020. And now, following a difficult year in golf, he's also spoken about the future of LIV. Since it's its first event in June, the breakaway competition has gradually drawn some of the sport's greatest players to join in. Back Back in October, former world number 1 Dustin Johnson took home $18 million as the first champion. According to Steinberg, with the kind of money LIV Golf has just floating around, they'll probably never shut down. If anything, more players from the PGA Tour will probably go over to LIV for the money. LIV Golf has been losing money, but the funding doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. And as long as that continues, it's hard to see the end of it ever becoming a reality. Steinberg actually thinks they'll increase their funding and get even bigger golfers, which will help them get more competitive in the field. However, there's still some pro golfers that refuse to join LIV Golf no matter how big the deal is.
The low driving shot didn't even get 60 feet.
Up next, Tiger Woods rejected a $1 billion LIV Golf.
To play there, I disagree with it.
Tiger Woods is the richest golf player of all time with a net worth of over $1.1 billion and is probably the most recognized player in the sport. Having a player like this would be a huge upgrade for LIV Golf, and they knew they had to get their hands on him, so they offered him a massive $1 billion deal to join the LIV Golf Series. That amount would literally double his current net worth, but despite this, Woods actually denied their offer. But considering everything Woods has said about the series, it would be hypocritical if he hadn't rejected the offer. Right before being offered this, Woods talked about the golf players that had left PGA to go for LIV instead. He said those players had turned their backs on what has allowed them to get into this position. He also mentioned that they might not ever get the chance to play in a major championship because of their involvement with LIV Golf. Woods talked about this again at the 2022 Open Championship in Scotland. He seemed very disappointed, saying he doesn't understand why these players would do this just to earn money. He doesn't understand the incentive to go out there and just earn it in the dirt.
5 birdies and an eagle on his card today. Keeping an eye on the putting. This one.
Finally, Rory McIlroy hates what LIV Golf has done to the game. After a memorable final day at the Tour Championship, Rory McIlroy delivered his greatest barb yet at LIV Golf. The Northern Irishman, 33, raced to win at East Lake after a final round battle with world number 1 Scottie Scheffler. On Sunday, McIlroy overcame a 6-shot deficit to win the PGA Tour's flagship game and collect $17.8 million. Rory has now become the first player to win the FedEx Cup 3 times. McIlroy is a multiple PGA champion who has recently spoken out against the Saudi-backed LIV Tour. In his post-victory news conference, he cried out against the tournament once again, with world number 2 Cameron Smith appearing on the verge of leaving. And Rory isn't sure how he'll look at many of his fellow players in next month's BMW Championship in Wentworth, England. McIlroy says if you really believe in something, then you have to speak up about it. He then talked about how much he hated what the LIV Tour was doing to the world of golf. McIlroy might be LIV's most vocal critic, but he's also big on change at the PGA Tour and negotiations between the tours. McIlroy stated last month that he is all for sitting around the table and working things out. That's a wrap for today's video. Do you still want more answers on LIV Golf? Make sure to let us know in the comments down below. As always, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and click the subscribe button for more videos like this one. We'll see you next time.